Today we're going to do a new twist on one of my old formulas for what I call light beer. And you can't see it, but on the chalkboard over here I've actually done calculations on where my beers rank as far as carbohydrates and calories. And the light ale that we're going to make came in at about 9.9 carbs and 145 calories per bottle, which that's not too bad. And what I'm doing this time, I had put in 7 pounds of 2-roll before, along with a pound of, or rather 12 ounces of the Caramel Crystal 10. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going down on the 2-roll, and I'm going to put in a bag, which is 1 pound of the flaked corn, which is very similar to my highlight formula with corn in it, which gives it kind of a sweet flavor. But in this case, what I'm trying to do is just drive the calories down and the carbs down just a hair more by adding a little corn. So we'll see how that works out. So I have the water getting heated right now up to 168, and then I'm going to mash in with the 6 pounds of the 2-roll, the 12 ounces of the Caramel Crystal 10, and the 1 pound of corn, and then that'll sit for an hour mashing. Then we'll go ahead and start to fly sparge, and from there on it's just pretty easy stuff thrown in the Cascade hops. So anyway, we'll be back in a few minutes when we're ready to mash in. Okay, all I'm doing right now is dumping 3 1/4 gallons of water into the mash tun. And I lied to you, it's really 164 degrees, not 168. Most of my other formulas are 168, so that's always kind of taken into account that I'm doing it in the cold weather with cold equipment. And right now we're actually pretty pleasant here. It's probably 70 degrees inside, the equipment's 70, so we're in good shape. So as soon as I get the water up here to 3 1/4 gallons, I will stop dumping the water in, and then I'll grab the grain and mash in. We're at 3. Call that 3 1/4, which looks right with both the gauge on my hot water tank and the scale that sits inside the mash tun. So grab the grain next. And now I know you're not going to be able to see this, but for the most part, all you're really trying to do here is put it in at a rate that you can stir it in and avoid any dough balls. Now I have the corn on the bottom because corn tends or can be a problem with creating dough balls. So that'll be the last thing in, and it'll just drop right on top. Corn, flake corn, you don't run it through your grain mill, you just dump it in. So everything else, the Caramel Crystal 10, the 12 ounces of that, the 6 pounds of the 2-roll, that's all been milled. And the corn is going in now. So we're getting down to the bottom of the bucket. Again, just trying to really get this stirred in well without any dough balls. That's the end of that. I don't know what it is about being on this angle, but I always end up with a little bit of grain going outside the mash tun. Not much, probably less than 1/10 of an ounce, but just a very hard angle to work on. I think we're stirred up pretty good in there. So I'm going to put the lid on, and we're going to have an hour of it just sitting in the mash tun, extracting the sugars, and we'll be back when it's time to fly sparge. All right, the target for this hour mash is supposed to be 150. It looks like I'm at about 149.5, which is plenty close enough. So let's give it an hour here at 150 and come back and do the sparging, and then it'll be on to the boil. Alright guys, I lied to you. It wasn't an hour rest in here in the mash tun, it was an hour and 15 minutes. So now we're going to start the sparge. First we're going to do the first runnings, try and get that taken care of. Take the top off the mash tun so I can actually see what I'm doing. And if you can see that, it is running right now. And there's a bit of grain in it. The whole purpose to doing this is to get it to where the wort is going to come out without any grain in it, so you don't end up with a bunch of junk in your brew kettle, which wouldn't be good for the flavor of it either. So fortunately it's actually running fairly clean. I've had a lot worse. It'll probably take just about this whole container of running it slow like this for it to actually create its own filter inside the mash tun. And then at which point we can just convert over and go directly from the drain tube into the brew kettle, and then have the water from the hot liquor tank flushing down on the grains. And that is, we are supposed to do 168 degrees on that with about 3.9 gallons of water. So the total water in the brew kettle should be just a hair over 7 gallons when we get ready to boil. So anyway, that's it. We will be back when we start the actual sparging. Okay, I've started the sparge, and you can see the water is dripping down. Yeah, there's a lot of steam, but it is dripping down over the grain bed. And then right down here, we have the wort coming out, and I'm trying to match the rate so that the fluid is staying about an inch above the grain bed in the mash tun and is coming out at a rate equivalent to what's going in down in the boil kettle. This usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So as soon as this is finished up, then we'll start the boil. Okay, we got a boil started here, just starting, and this is 1/2 ounce of Cascade hops that'll go in for the whole 60 minutes of the boil. Then with 3 minutes left in the boil, we're going to drop in 1 ounce of Cascade hops. Now, in between that time, I will be putting the chiller in so that it gets sanitized. So we'll let this thing cook and boil for 40 minutes. I'm going to throw the chiller in, and then when there's 3 minutes left, we'll be back to throw in that last full ounce of Cascade hops. Okay, 3 minutes left in the boil. That is the last of the hops going in. And that will go for 3 minutes, and then we'll chill it down, aerate it, pitch the yeast, and we'll be done. Alright, we're going to aerate the wort. I've already done my post-boil gravity reading. So now we're going to go ahead and just get a little oxygen in there for the yeast. And that's probably plenty. I'm going to let that run while I put it in the sanitizer. And now we're just going to sprinkle, this is US-05 on top here. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So I'll be back in a few seconds with a wrap-up. Well guys, that's about it. I have everything sealed up, airlocks on, and it's fermenting. It was at about 74 degrees when I got done cooling it off. The cool temperature, surprisingly, is at 62, which I wouldn't have expected.
This is the honey wheat. I'm brewing a batch of this tomorrow, but I'm not going to bore you with a video on it because we've done that already. So we'll see how this one turns out in a couple weeks. I'm interested to see, one, if the carbs and the calories drop a bit, and I can let you know. And then also just how the flavor changes a bit with the corn added, if at all. We'll see. So I ended up with a pre-boil gravity of 1.037, and my post-boil gravity was a 1.043. So, you know, all within the range of what Beersmith thought I would have for this all-grain light beer that I brewed. So, I think that's it. Cheers. Yeah, it's an awesome beer. Hopefully this turns out as good as the honey wheat. This is a really, really good beer. And a lot of people want it when they come over, and I try to kind of set it off to the side because this is my wife's favorite. And I have some other folks that'll drink the High Life Clone, and Alan, who drinks the chocolate stout, the amber ale. My brother-in-law Reed likes that. So I've got enough of a mix that, you know, I'm not going to run out of one particular thing real fast. So the option right now, or the objective right now, is to try and get all the brewing done here before we get into the month of, I'd say, like mid-May. So knock it all out. I've got probably about 8 cases in the house right now. And last year, I think I had, going into the summer season, I think I had 16 cases of beer in there. And that took me all the way through the year, which is, again, not me drinking it all. That would be a problem. But I have a lot of folks that drop over and like homebrew. Let's face it, who doesn't like a free beer? So anyway, that's it. Check back here in about a month, and we'll talk about how this turned out. In the meantime, if I come up with any new variation on one of the styles that I've been brewing, I'll put another video out here. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope you guys have a great Homebrew Wednesday and a great week. Cheers.
This has been a Matty Boy presentation. Say bye-bye, Matty.
Bye-bye.